There were three brothers who lived well enough in a house at the three-road crossroads, by the shore of the sea, at the edge of the forest, at the foot of the great mountain, on the well-travelled road to the west. At least they lived well, but they were never content in each other's company. The two older brothers were strong, straight, tall as trees, unbending and unflinching in all that the weather could throw at them, and from a distance more handsome than any man has a right to be. But for all that they looked good, fair and strong, in their hearts they were as dark and as deep as any muddied stream, and devious and cunning as any old fox that has given hounds the chase, but not the kill, over many a long winter. Theirs could have been a good and varied life, full of travelled tales, borne on accents passed by tongues from well beyond their shore. And although they wanted not for food or drink, goods or comfort, the two older brothers bore their lives with little grace. Each dawning brought a new stranger to their door. They came seeking warmth, food, and a willing ear for their tales before they took to the road again. All of the brothers were better than well known as guides on these rough roads, and guide you they would, until the sun set beyond the lower peak of their mountain. They would take you no further, for they had not the need to travel more than one day's journey from their home, as all the world would come to their door with all that the brothers could need to live a simple life. The youngest brother, though not strong or fit, fair or handsome, had a heart that was as warm and full as his brothers were dark and cold. He was willing to help without being asked, even though his arms were weak and body bent, and he was always hungry to hear the travellers' tales. And each new story would be heard, remembered, retold and rejoiced in at the new telling, as he helped each stranger a little further on their never-ending road. And the stories grew, longer, stronger, bigger and better in the telling, as all the best stories do, until many forgot about their journey, and stayed to listen a day longer to Gerach, for that was the youngest's name. And it was this that brought the great ill feeling between the brothers. And it was this that caused the brothers to part forever. For the older brothers only knew brute strength as the measure of a man, and only respected fist and muscle, and never understood how strangers chose their runt of a brother as a guide, when they could have had them. Indeed, many of the travellers took no help at all from Gerach, saying that their footsteps fell a little easier, their packs a little lighter, as they feasted themselves on his many strange tales. The high stony road, rain-washed and bare by the back of the house, led to the top of their mountain. Of course, they did not own this great benign giant, but theirs were the only regular footfalls to be felt from one season to the next. The road itself led, they knew, nor cared not where, as did the low road by the edge of the raging sea, and the dank path that threaded itself through the wood to the front of the house. All were a mystery to their eyes beyond their one day's journey. But these three could travel more in that one day than many could travel in two. But it was woe betide those who did not keep up with the older brothers, as they would feel the strength of their rebukes, until they would scramble on, footsore and fearful, weary but glad that their time with these two quarrelsome beasts of men had ended. They knew nor cared where each road ended, each taking in turn to guide the paths through the woods, the valley, and by the sea. They knew well the stranger's hand upon their door, seeking help in their long journey. Seemingly glad they were for the company, money and goods left in their wake. All of these gifts were given for being shown the truest path. Gerach, truly glad for anything they left, revelled in the chance to have an easy excuse to weave his tales. But these older brothers, although they asked for nothing, expected much for their services. Many and various were these wayfarers, and strange to tell, each visited them only once, never to be seen at their doorstep again. But this did not bother the two elder brothers, as strong and old, young and bent, and all who passed by the cottage would envy Con and Finn their peace, solitude, and mastery of their paths. It was only Gerach who longed to see a friendly face again. His brothers, ill-fitted to companionship, saw each traveller as just another piece of gold in their pocket, and paid no heed to their needs and wants, unless it benefited them. Now, just as the seasons change, so did the roads. It would be a foolish man indeed who did not enjoy the warm, wind-swept slopes of the mountain in the height of autumn, or the mellow, leaf-lit shelter of the woods in the smothering heat of summer. The sea, ever-changing, brought its majesty to all of the seasons, glistening so strongly through spring suns, calm and inviting in the summer to foot-worn, pack-weary limbs, radiant in autumn, but wicked in winter, with its breath-quickening, heart-fearing roar and thunder. Each of the paths had their favoured season, and Con and Finn made sure that one or the other took each road at its best, saving the worst for their poor, hapless but happy younger brother. And it was this also that caused the brothers to scratch at the sore of ill-feeling, and it was this that also caused them to part forever. For Gerach, ever glad to help even his cruel brothers, cared not whether the road was hard or long, or that the others had an easy time of it. For while he fought the mountain's winds in winter, the sea's fury in spring, and endured the poor shelter of the leaf-shorn forest road in the eye of the blizzard, the brothers laughed at his simple delight and joy of life, and made him the scapegoat for their own dark, uncaring hearts. True, it was not unusual for brothers to fight, or cause the other to wish that they had been born an only child, and true, Gerach, whilst not the easiest of men to live with his eternal hopes and gladness, he readily accepted the rough fate dealt to him, the lowly way that he was treated by his own flesh and blood at the heart of his own home. He knew that he had not the strength of his brothers, or their wealth, however fearfully given. He knew that he was not their father's chosen, as he was gleefully reminded at every waking moment by his brothers. He could feel the weight of their scorn and their contempt, but through all of this, he never let them through the walled citadel of his heart, and though he remained uncared for, alone in their company, he was, by far, stronger in spirit than his brothers could even dream, for all of their bluff and blustering ways. And it happened upon one cold winter's day, and here is the start of the parting. A young girl came beating on their door. Strange enough it was that a woman should be in this lonely place, but a child, and a girl child at that, to be here and asking to be shown the lonely way to the high meadows on the far side of the mountain. It was as much as the three of them could do but to stand there and gape. "Well," says the girl, "you going to show me the way to the top of this great beast of a mountain? Or are you going to stand there till I've grown old enough to take the three of you across my knee and give you a good tanning for being such brutes as to leave a poor stranger by your doorpost in the middle of winter?" Con was the first to speak. Face flustered, the fire of his temper getting the upper hand of his reason. "Why, you cheeky young besom, have a good mind too." And Finn held his brother back, for even he knew that here there was something not as it should be. The child never flinched, for all that the two at the door were head, body and shoulders taller than she. "Yes? You'll what? Beat me till I cry? Scalp me till I never dream of sitting again?" At this, Gerach, who was half hidden behind his brothers, roared with laughter, for these were words that were well known to him, for they had been in his mind when he was a child, but had never had the courage to come from his own lips, when he had suffered at the hands of these self-same brothers. At the time he thought naught of it, judging it as the frightened response of any child when faced with a brutish bully, but in later years he would remember long and hard the look in the girl's eye. Strong, never scared, cold. "Come in, come in. You're as welcome as any at this house, be it man, woman or child," said Gerach. The girl, snow glittering in her hair like choicest diamonds, pushed past the two dumbfounded brothers and sat in the biggest chair by the side of the roaring fire, as if she owned the house, fields, beasts and barn. It was all that Gerach could do to keep his laughter to himself, for not even he would dare to sit in his father's old chair. Not only did Con keep the best of the roads to himself, he saw it as his birthright to have the best seat in the house, and he would fight all, kith, kin and child, if need be, to make sure that all stayed that way. But before he had a chance to tell this whelp of a girl just what he was going to do to her to make sure she knew her station in this, his house, she spoke again. "So, which of you is man enough to take me on my chosen path? And I'll tell you now that I mean to travel as soon as you've fed me a decent meal, which I trust will be soon." All of this was said without the wit of a smile or a drop of a fear, for never, not in his wildest times, when his brothers had pushed him further than any man should have to endure with their wicked usage, would Gerach have spoken to Con so. It was all the more delicious to watch, all the better to savour, when it wasn't him who was going, or at least he thought was going, to get the rough edge of his brother's tongue and boot. For child or no child, no one had ever spoken to his brother in this way, and it was this, that no one had ever spoken to him without fear or a belly full of wine that probably struck him dumb as if he had never had 2 words of his own to rub together in the whole of his cross-tempered life. Finn, though blessed without a grain of understanding, could still sense that something was not right. Had not his brother uprooted trees to beat family for the want of a sixpence? Had not he himself enjoyed Con's temper and fists on no small number of occasions when the fancy had taken him? This child in his house, in his chair, talking in this way, was truly bile upon scorn. For all that he had not the capacity to comprehend what was going on before him, Finn, too, was beginning to enjoy the spectacle of his giant of a brother belittled by his own fireside by a strip of a girl. "Truly, I have stumbled upon a house of dumblings and fools," said the girl. "Is there none of you with a voice in your throat to reply to me? I want to go to the high meadows today, before I do get much older. Is there none of you great galoots going to answer me?" Con found his tongue, albeit a pitiful small voice that now came from his lips.
"You heard the girl,"
said Con to Gerach.
"Give her a meal, and take the mountain path, and you can take this."
And here he cleared his throat and regained his own voice.
"This wretched witch of a girl from my sight."
The words were spat out in haste, like bad meat in a poor meal. This caused no small surprise with Finn and Gerach, but it was nothing compared to the astonishment that almost drowned them when the girl turned slowly and with a dark glint in her eyes and addressed Con thus. "Is it not the name of Con that is spread about as the greatest of the guides to all travellers on the high road? Is it not the name of Con that is used to strike fear in the hearts of young children when they resist the night and sleep is hard to find? Are you trying